Hello everyone. I'm always very happy to come to CES. It has a very special place for me, to be honest. My older son graduated from this school. My younger daughter is still in the school, so whenever there is an opportunity for me to come and share my experience with you all, I find it inspiring. Because guess what? We don't just help you guys learn. We also learn from you. The amount of things I learned from my kids is immense. One thing is about entrepreneurship. And the reason why I'm inspired by the concept of entrepreneurship is because of the amount of misunderstanding it has. Whenever I ask someone from a younger generation, including my own son, what do you want to be when you finish your studies? I mean, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? They tell me, we want to set up our own company. We want to have our own business. We want to become entrepreneurs. In reality, you do not become an entrepreneur. And this talk, this presentation, will show you why. You told me to point it. Oh, okay. This is a famous quote that I'm always known for, is that your life is your own story and you have to own your story. Because if you don't own your story, somebody else will. And this is a key step in entrepreneurship, is to understanding who you are and what you're able to give. In reality, you're not competing with anyone. You're only competing with yourself. You only measure against yourself. And you only compare against your own milestones and not somebody else's. When I finished my studies in university at AUC, I graduated in 1999. Coming to you all, this is like the ancient world, in the 90s. I worked in Vodafone. Back then, it was a huge company, still is, but it was a very dynamic company because back then, the idea of mobile phones, this will also sound hilarious to you all because back then in 1996, we only started having mobile phones. In 1999, it was the biggest companies back coming to the Egyptian market. So when I joined Vodafone, it was really big at the time. I graduated in June, I joined in July as PR specialist, then a senior PR specialist, then a PR supervisor. And I remember vividly, I hated waking up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes, be at work at 9 a.m., finishing at work at 6, 7, 8, depends. I didn't like the politics. I didn't like the bureaucracy because of the system and the solidarity of the system, having to get approvals for everything. I didn't like the idea of having a plan, a budget. I was really young and I really wanted things to happen fast. I was really results-driven, not quality-driven. And I really wanted to see things happen. So I was really bored of having to do business cases, present the business cases to management, implement those business cases. It took months for any idea to get implemented, and that was frustrating for me. I said to myself back at the time, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to have my own thing, my own projects, my own ideas, be in control of my time, waking up whenever I want, sleeping whenever I want. I'll be in control. Little I knew, I did not become an entrepreneur, I did not have my own company. I just went ahead and got married and had my children. And I became a stay-home mom for a couple of years. And it was a really nice experience because I started learning from my own kids. They taught me patience. They taught me that time is my own time. I only calculate if I'm wasting it or not. They really helped me manage my own time. I became more tolerant, I became more observant, and then I went to my next step. I started doing my master's in 2004-2005. So I was home, I was studying, I did my master's, and all in the back of my mind I was thinking, no more bureaucracy, no more politics, no more waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning to go to work. No more doing that. I want to do my own thing. Repeating what my son kept telling me. I want to do my own thing. I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to have my own company. I want to be in control. 2006, realizing that there's a gap in the market, the service market in PR, because in the 90s, PR was a really expensive service. Very few people understood what PR meant. I felt there's a gap. We can provide PR at a very cost-competitive pricing. We can offer it to the Egyptian market. I can train the local caliber to become like me, or even better. And I can offer PR, local PR, and that was my motto back then in 2006. We can provide PR with global standards. And this is what I discovered. I discovered that, first, what I suffered from in corporate was waking up in the morning, right? And having to finish work at 6, 7. When you have your own company, you still wake up at 5 a.m. and you don't go to sleep. I mean, obviously you sleep, but you're thinking the whole time. You're working round the clock, 24 hours a day. When I'm on vacation for many, many years, I would get out of the pool, get out of the sea, and check my phone, answer the emails. I never stop thinking. When you have your own thing, when you're responsible for your own thing, it becomes, there are no working hours. Yes, there were no politics. There was no bureaucracy. Because there was no one in the company but me and 2 more people. So of course there are no politics. Because there was no caliber. No one wanted to work in a startup. No one wanted to invest their time in an agency, in a young agency that wants to prove itself. We suffered, I personally suffered, from turnover, absence of financials, having to rely on my own self the whole time, not being able to travel around and enjoy the money I'm making, because every single day I'm thinking, today I'm making money, but tomorrow, I'm not sure. The market is up and down. Sometimes you get a good account, you do it really well, you provide a good service. The second account, they criticize you. Yes, I didn't have a boss, but everybody was my boss. My team was my boss because I wanted them to be happy, to stay as long as possible in the company. My clients were my boss, so if I have 5 accounts, every single person in that company is my boss in a service organization. The community is my boss because I really cared for my reputation, right? So you really have to cater to that reputation, to the people around you. So everything I saw in corporate and criticized, I saw it on a much bigger scale in the agency, except that in corporate, you're protected by teams, by management, by systems, but as an entrepreneur, as you called it, you're alone. So I started in 2006. The company started growing in 2010. So that was, when you have your own company, there are sprouts, like growth sprouts, like a baby. 6 months you're something, 1 year you're something, 2 years you're something. There are certain milestones in the age of a firm. So when it came to my own firm, that was a growth sprout in 2010. And I remember why, because we signed with a big contract back in the time. We were all so excited. We were 6 people in the company, including myself. By the way, now we're like 35 people. Back then we were 6, and I was very excited with the big contract. Yay, we made it. And then the revolution took place in 2011. Everything was on hold. The entire economy was stagnant. Nobody would renew contracts or initiate contracts. Everything was on hold. What do you do as an entrepreneur? You're not sitting in a company taking a salary every month, no? It's the opposite. You are responsible for salaries. You're responsible for employees, for a team. You're responsible for your reputation. Can I close? No. Because in entrepreneurship, in the real world, you cannot close. You cannot give up. You have to move on. You have to take the storm, lay down a little, but continue going on. So it's tough. But in every challenge, there's an opportunity. In In 2011, it was a very dynamic time. I don't know how many of you remember, or were probably kids back then, or not even born, but I remember that there were a lot of presidential campaigns taking place, one in 2012, another one in 2014, and because we were very dynamic, I invested so much, me and my team, in the reputation of our service, PR, we were selected to become part of those campaigns. So we were part of the 2012 political campaign, 2 political campaigns. One of them was with Abu Musa, if you know the name. 2014, we were with the current president, His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in 2014. So yeah, we were struggling economically, obviously. But at the time, there was dynamism. There was something happening, and we were part of that story because of all the effort that has been invested in our belief in PR. Then in 2016, I mean, everything was settled in 2014. We had a new president, we had a new system, politics took its own quiet route, and then in 2016, our company was turning 10 years. It was a huge milestone for us, so we thought we have to celebrate. You have to understand that in PR, the traditional concept of PR is doing press releases, events, being on stage, inviting singers. This is not what the reality of strategic PR is not that. PR is about the message. It's about content. It's about spreading that content. It's about building campaigns, reality campaigns. And it's about building a nation brand. So I had a vision back in the time that I wanted to use PR to build the brand of Egypt. Egypt is no longer that old country, that ancient country. This is our history, our backdrop. But our current state is young, youthful, dynamic. 50% of the population is less than 30 years old. We deserve to have that narrative. We deserve to have that story that we're young and dynamic and there's so much going on in our country and our future. So I focused on that and I did TED Talks, just like this one. So I remember when they were taking me backstage and putting the mic and someone walking me, I remember, this is exactly what TED is like, so you guys are doing a great job. This is what we did in 2016. We did the first copy, the second copy, the third copy, the fourth copy, until this year. Is it working? This year I became Assistant Minister of Tourism and Antiquities. So back to corporate. Back to, not corporate in this sense, but back to an establishment, an institution. So I had to leave the company completely from the management and go back to where I started. In a big organization, where I'm a small fish in a big sea. So, in your own definitions, am I an entrepreneur? Do you think I am? I mean, look at the diverse experience. I went to Vodafone, I stayed home, I did my master's, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, I established my own company, and then I went to Narrative Summit, created a TEDx, for nation branding, invited international speakers from all over the world to present Egypt in a new light. Narrative is about building a nation brand, no? Bringing all those international speakers or local speakers, creating those nice recipes of how we can create a branding for Egypt with those speakers, and then suddenly I've been selected to go back to government, or to go back to an institution. So am I an entrepreneur? The answer is, it depends. Entrepreneurship is not a job. You don't become an entrepreneur. You're either an entrepreneur or not. It's not a career path. Entrepreneurship is an attitude. It's about agility, flexibility, being able to see all those changes and adjust to them. By the way, you can become an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur in a company. I have seen entrepreneurs in companies that have so much ownership and attention to detail and quality, just exactly like an owner of a company. They take care of the details, they take care of the plans, they take care of the budget, and they grow, and they help the companies grow with them. There is so much media going on right now about entrepreneurship, fighting the education system, because we want to be entrepreneurs. Not true. You can become an entrepreneur wherever you are. you're an entrepreneur. If you want to. If you want to. So let me go very quickly through the famous quotes of what most entrepreneurs say, or the old definition of an entrepreneur. I'm ambitious, the walls of the firm cannot hinder me. I want to be my own boss. I have big ideas. I want to have my own company. I need to make a lot of money, and being an employee is not good enough for me because I want to have a lot of money. So let's dissect each one of those and see the reality of each quote. The first one, I want to have my own company. You will not have your own company. You will not have your own company because you need to understand what a real company means. A company يعني system, يعني process, يعني employees, يعني HR, يعني finance, يعني IT system, technology, يعني ضرائب, taxes. If you understand all these concepts, then you are ready to have your own company. But as a young person, you have no idea what a company is. You have to be in a company, understand the company, and then assess. Do I want the company or not? Because sometimes it's huge, a decision like that. The second quote. I have big ideas. Because, by the way, these are the things that I said to myself in 1999, 2000, 2001. I have big ideas. I don't see them happening. I want to do them on my own. Because in this company, مش عارف أعمل حاجة. I want to go outside and do it on my own. صح. I'm sure everyone has big ideas. But big ideas need money, they need resources, and they need people to get them to happen. When you have a startup, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have any of that. And banking on your parents' money does not help. You do not become an entrepreneur by using your parents' money. Maybe as a start, maybe, for a month or two. But if you have the attitude of the entrepreneur, the attitude, then you understand that big ideas need plans. And I think we went over that, and I explained to you who else is your boss. You have to start out by understanding what a firm means before you fly on your own. I'm sorry, I have to go quickly because there's a time limit here. I need to make a lot of money. This is very important. I need to make a lot of money, and as an employee, I won't be making that. In reality, if you become an entrepreneur really, as a career, if you have your own company, it means you won't be making money for a long time. I started having my own money to enjoy 5 to 6 years after I started. Before then, I was really tight. I would calculate every single amount of money that I'd receive every month because I don't know what's going to happen next. You have to plan, you have to budget yourself, so at the end of the day, you're not really enjoying the luxury of being on your own. Before you go and before I end my presentation at the TED, I really want you to understand what I said by entrepreneurship being an attitude and not a job or a career path. When you become an entrepreneur, when you decide that you want to have the attitude of an entrepreneur, you need to realize that it's about being humble. Always realizing that it's about learning, it's about being generous to others, it's about understanding and being humble towards what you've learned and giving back to the people you're helping in your organization or in the community. It's about discipline, it's about consistency, and it's about always delivering with quality. Only when you have this attitude, you become an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. And it's not something that's related to your job, and it's not something related to your career. It's really your values and your personality. Thank you very much.